Well, yeah, that's okay. All right, listen, we're ready to rock and roll here. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, boom. We're episode 284.
No, we are episode 248. Hey, backwards.
248, okay. Hi, this is Eric Stromquist. Welcome to Control Talk, now your smart buildings podcast and video cast for the week ending December 17th, 2017. This is episode 248. That's right, folks. We're about to hit the magic 250. But I tell you what, if you're like me, you love the fact that the best part of Control Talk now is the man, the myth, the legend, the one, the only, your co-host and mine, Kenny Smyers, the controls guy from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Kenny, welcome to the show on this blustery December day.
Well, thank you very much, Eric. You blow me all the smoke up my, what do you call it? And see, the man, the myth, the legend, that is my lower third. But I might as well enjoy that as long as I can. I appreciate all the good things you say and the good things we do. And it's been another exciting, hard work. You know, like you say, it is a blustery winter now. We had a reprieve there for a long time. People were golfing about 3 weeks ago. Now we got about 8 inches of snow and the wintry people that love the outdoor sports are just having to go at it now.
I think they call them hardy, baby. Right? They're hardy folks.
No, I mean, but I have friends that love to ski. They're up at Seven Springs right now, and it's good ski snow. So it's a real cold, crispy, or I don't know the difference between. I would imagine I didn't know the difference between snows, but I'm not a skier, so you can have it. I'll sit inside and drink glue wine and watch football.
There you go, buddy. There you go. Well, listen, man, we got a lot of good stuff going on. We got a great guest coming up this week, which is awesome. We missed last week. I was, down in Miami doing a photo workshop. I tend to go try to study with some of the best and that I can find. So that was good stuff. I didn't get killed down there. Didn't get mugged. It was Art Basel, so it was a great time. But so back in the saddle working again. And dude, we got all kinds of great stuff coming up. The Control Trends Awards, the voting is in full force. And Kenny, you know, as a matter of fact, before we get started, I want to bring up a point. Sometimes people we've got the ballot set up. And let me just see if I can pull this up so you can see it. To get the ballot, you can see it up there in the right-hand corner. It's the Control Trends voting ballot. You basically click on that. When you do, you get access to the ballot. Now, it's set up in a way that you can only vote once. It knows your computer IP address. So we get some people that go, we get the ballot, somebody sends the ballot, but it says the voting is closed. So that's what's going to happen if somebody's used the ballot before they sent it to you. So if that happens, you can just go back to the Control Trend site. You can click on that link right there, and you'll get a fresh ballot here. So this is what it should look like when it comes up. It will be right like this, where
start the voting process. Yep.
Start the voting process. If you're not getting that, that's what's going on there. So.
And if you have any questions, you can send us an email to controltrendscontact@gmail.com, and we can help you along. But we've had some of the big the people that are trying to get their community involved and engaged and get them voting. We're reporting that, and so we steered them to the right. There's two workarounds, but one is get a new computer and then copy that link, and then it won't show up as already used. So.
Yeah. But the voting doesn't close for probably about another 30 days or so, so don't be alarmed about that. So if you get that message, the voting is now closed, that's what that's about. But, buddy, like I said, it's been a couple of weeks. We got a couple of shout-outs this week. What you got going on shout-out-wise?
Yeah, we got some professional changes going on. Some people changed jobs. We got let's just start with the birthday. We wish Dozer Mills a happy birthday. It's yesterday. Doze, he was a longtime employee with you guys. He's a smart guy, and happy birthday.
Great guy. Dozer's been involved with Control Trends in the past. Doge works for Honeywell now. And we lost a good one when we lost Dozier. So Doge, if you're listening, I know you're a Control Talk fan. We appreciate you, buddy. Happy birthday, and many more. Dozier's a great, among other things, Kenny, Dozier's a great guitar player and singer. Matter of fact, I think if you go back in the old episodes, you got Doge actually singing on Control Trends. He was like the singing controls guy.
Well, he had one of those digital bands. It was incredible. He He had a drummer that was in Germany. Somebody else was in the Philippines, and they would all get online to make a digital song, which is incredible.
Yeah. It was kind of cool. I don't know how they did it, but he had this software where they could literally, like, say, they would jam and record music together from all over the world. So Dozier's a great guy. So Doge, again, happy birthday to you. What else do we have, Kenny?
We have congratulations to Matthew Williams, PMP, for starting a new position as a senior project manager at Siemens Building Technology. He was formerly with Director of Controls at Comfort Systems Northwest. We have Johan Shakelrod and Tony Hughes have a couple of great posts. Tony Hughes is an English gentleman that's incredibly gifted when it comes to applications, and he just loves his EasyIO and his FS32 controller, so he puts a lot of stuff up there. We have Brad.
Hang on. Tony Hughes is another guy too, Kenny, that we interviewed when we were in England at the Manchester. Yeah. He's a big LinkedIn guy, so check his stuff out. Great blogger.
Right. When we have Brad Kalt, PE for CTS. He's celebrating his second year at HGA Architects and Engineers. We have Therese Sullivan, our girl from the Silicon Valley, eyes and ears out of Silicon Valley. She's also doing multiple work. She started another new position as Community Relations Manager at Project Haystack. Congratulations, Therese.
Congratulations, Therese. And I tell you what, another friend of the show and a really great individual, our friend Phil Zito from the BAM Nation. Phil's out on his own now. He is doing full-time training. As a matter of fact, he is going to be doing some training classes at AHR. But encourage you to check him out. Phil's one of the good guys in the industry.
Right. He has a session 11 to 12 at room S103A Monday, January 22nd from 11 o'clock to 12 o'clock. And he'll be going over building automation systems, the primer that you always wanted for free. So it's going to be a great session. Well done.
Yeah, he's a really good teacher. So that's good stuff there. All right, buddy. Well, listen, before we get to our guest, we had some cool stuff to talk about this week. So what do we have up first there, Mr. Kenneth?
Well, we've got couple of things. One was that, as you mentioned offline here, when we're getting started, there's some great collateral that we're going to be posting, the videos that people have put in for the video marketing collateral of the year. And we got a chance to review a couple of them, and they are sensational. So we congratulate all the people that have to take the lead in telling the story. I mean, like you always say, everybody's got a great product. That's the starter. Everybody has to be high quality, have a great product. And then how do you differentiate yourself from everybody else? You got to have a good marketeer that knows how to utilize social media. So we've seen some great stuff, and we'll be continuing to post them. But taking that as the cue, we're going to begin with our first post of ACI. This is a tech tip. This is how to bump test a Q5B5 gas sensor. And that's, of course, a particular model number that maybe some people don't recognize. But ACI has taken a big effort to get involved in they always had a CO2 sensor, and they always had humidity. Now they're taking it a little bit deeper, and they're going into the toxic gas. So they have refrigeration sensors. They have carbon monoxide sensors. But I've sold a lot of these, and this is one of the best simple presentations on what you do and how often you do it. So these things are all smart gas transmitters, and it's they back net or whatever, or standalone, or 0 to 10. But the point is that they can go out of calibration, and they should be checked. So the recommendation for a combustion gas will be every 6 months. And what you want to do is you want to bump it. So it goes into great detail on how to do that properly, and to make sure that once you make the initial investment, many times we see systems degrade over time because everybody forgets about them. It's like your own furnace in your house. I looked the other day and changed my filters. I couldn't believe that I hadn't changed them. So and here I'm in the business. I'm probably as guilty as anybody. You just get so busy. So you need to have a program, and then you need to know how to do it. Typically, you can buy a small canister and you keep it around. You have a little nozzle for the actual sensor where it is, and then you just bump it. And as you see the response to it, then that it's calibrated properly, and you can go on to the next problem you got in your facility.
Well, ACI is up for several Control Trends Awards. They're also a sponsor of the Control Trends Awards, which we really appreciate. And you got some great folks there, Kenny. I mean, American company based is right outside of Madison, Wisconsin, right?
Yes. Well, we were just there on a visit with the ACI, and I was very impressed with the quality. Very impressed with the sense of team that they have. They're not a giant corporation. They're less. They're what we call our small the small corporation, which is less than 50 million, but I bet you they're getting real close to it. But they've got quite a nice layout. I mean, it's a very quiet part of the country, famous for milk and cheese and beer. And we can testify that all that's all true. They even have great beer.
All that's good. Milk, cheese, and beer, baby. There you go. And sensors, great sensors. And shout out to our friend Barry Flash Gordon. Barry was one of the first PID award winners at the Control Awards. Has passion, integrity, and dedication, and he still does continues to do great stuff. So, all good there. All right, Big Dog, what we have up next?
Next up, we have EasyIO's FW14, a new breed of high-performance, freely programmable wireless controllers. And every time I watch their marketing collateral unfold and I see some of the applications, I really think that these guys really hit the bullseye. They hit the 10 right in the middle. And when you need to you have to adjust to a situation. You want to monitor something. You want to control something. And they also have a smaller version. It's called the F8. FW8 and the FW8V, which is a VAV controller. I mean, you now look at something that can really bring effective control, because this is freely programmable. That means it has all the meat and potatoes in the controller, and that you can do incredible applications. You can do fan coils, air handlers.
Oh, you can change them on the fly too, Kenny. You can take this one controller and you can hit a button and you can go from being a fan coil to an air handling unit.
Right.
And I think these guys are really on it. We know Mike Marston real well and Lim Hoonchot. And, the cool thing about it, Kenny, is they're not using Zigbee. They're not using any of those other wireless protocols, proprietary protocols. They're going straight Wi-Fi. And if you think about it, that is probably about as secure as you can get, because, I mean, we all walk around with our phones, getting on Wi-Fi networks, doing banking and stuff like that. But great applications. I mean, these controllers, you can basically, if you got a roof, you can, with a bunch of units on the roof, you can put these things right there on the roof and have them talk. The cool thing, they got 2 Ethernet ports on them, so you can basically go do a combination of hardwired and wireless. So if you got to go through a wall, you can cable that through and then pick the wireless up on the other side. So very, very well thought out. Encourage you to reach out to your local EasyIO distributor. If you don't know who that is, go to cgnacontrolsgroup.net. EasyIO is a proud member of CGNA Controls Group North America, as Kenny and I are. And if you can't find them there, then hell, Kenny and I'll sell it to you.
Yeah,
we ain't too proud to beg.
Well, we keep talking race to the small space, and we get we're really seeing something. I think if you do something well, people emulate it, and so the best form of flattery is imitation. But we see this becoming a reality. We're seeing people put together applications, making cookie cup applications. We'll be talking about one of them later on in the show too. That there's some really good, low cost, easy starting solutions, and let's help cure the 30% wasted energy we got going on in North America. And energy is precious, and we're not going to build any more generation plants. So the only reality we have to do is make ourselves much more energy efficient. And these systems are simple. There's no excuse now not to deploy a very reasonably priced, easy to the tools are free. So one of those big obstacles and the barrier to entry was that you had to spend a lot of money for engineering tools, and you had to have training before you could get first sensor on the wall. Now that's all. And
I think you're right about the engineering tool. Is based on the Sedona framework, which Brian Frank, the guy that wrote all the stuff for
Niagara.
The Niagara and the Workbench, is the same guy. So it is truly an open source. And I think one of the things EasyIO has done is they said, look, this is the protocol. This is what we're going to use, the tool we're going to use for all our controllers. There's no licensing fees with that software, or, you don't have to buy it. So the tools are free, and the price points are really good. So these guys are doing great stuff, Kenny. We hooked onto these guys early on when they first came to the U.S. They're global. They're in like 51 countries. We hooked onto them, early on, and sort of got to watch them grow in the U.S., which is a really, really cool thing. And, we've also had the benefit of going to some of their global conferences, and totally encourage you to do that. If you get a chance to go to one of these global conferences, these guys, top hat. We've been to Madrid, we've been to Paris, we've been to Manchester. These guys, you learn a lot, but you get to meet integrators from around the world, which to me, Kenny, is one of the really fascinating things, because you find out that we all sort of have the same sorts of issues and things we're working towards, right?
Yeah, buildings are a common denominator. We talked at that one show that we went to. There was probably 11 languages being spoken in the room at some point in time. Norway, Finland, England, Italian, so Italy, France, Spain,
India.
Serbia, India, South Africa. And, of course, we speak different languages here in the United States. So I was speaking Pittsburgh and you were speaking Georgian.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. So, but
they call us Yankee and redneck, right?
Well, the thing is that I was shocked at how similar the issues were across the globe. It's truly the common language that we speak as an industry.
The common language is not buildings, Kenny. I beg to differ here. The common language, as I found out, And I'd never seen this show, but you had. But I would lose you, and I'd get on the bus and say, "Anybody seen Kenny? Anybody seen Kenny?" And it didn't matter what language they spoke; they could all speak English. They go, "Kenny's dead." He 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 he. And I found out that was a show called South Park or something like that. And in the show, Kenny always got killed. So they were all making this joke. Anytime I asked, "Where's Kenny?" They go, "Kenny's dead." He 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 he. That's
Eric,
a common language, South Park.
I was hoping you'd never bring that up ever again. I'm the Kenny in that equation, and I don't really like South Park.
Well, it's Kenny and Eric, though. I guess Kenny's, the other character's name is Eric, so there we go, buddy. I think our roots were born in South Park, I think. I think that was, we got it wrong. Please correct us, because
well, no, it's South Park. And you were right. The guys from, who was that?
All over the world.
He was from Finland. He kept saying it. You know, he kept laughing. He thought that was so funny, and I'm thinking, what the heck's funny about that?
Runar Solo was one of the guys. So great.
Yeah, the other guy with the glasses. He was a young gun, and he changed professions. He used to be.
Oh yeah. What was his name? From Finland.
Yeah, right. But he too. He got such a kick out of it. I'm thinking that's really not that funny. I mean, come on. Anyhow, here we go.
I thought it was funny, but then again, I'm not Kenny in the equation, like you said. So hey, speaking of not funny, but always informative and entertaining, it's December, the December issue of AutomatedBuildings.com is out. How about introducing our first guest, Kenny?
Love to.
I'm tired in so many ways. Been gone for 7 days. I don't know why I can't explain.
To Eric, one of our favorites, and one of the most, probably the most pragmatic, and he generates content every month that's very important in our industry. He is the owner-editor of Automated Buildings, Mr. Ken St. Clair. Welcome to the show, Ken.
Welcome to the show, Ken.
Thank you very much, Control Trends.
Well, it's good to see you, Ken. So, man, go ahead, Kenny. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say that we like to really start off with the themes, because Ken, we see the sequence of operations here. There's an ignition sequence, we used to call them back in the Flame Safeguard days, where you start out kind of in a direction, and it keeps going, and you keep gradually, getting more critical mass, getting more attention, getting more feedback. And this week, or this month of December, you really got some interesting feedback on your theme. Are you IoT ready? Hashtag Are you IoT ready? And this was a pretty interesting theme. What drove you to follow through with December's theme?
There was a lot going on. I think it probably goes back to our article on engineered systems, that we had the industry start talking about data. And the thing as we start talking about data and how important it's going to become to our industry, we kind of open the door, and the IoT folks definitely start coming. And now we have the potential of moving into open source. And in that original article, Brad mentioned that he saw that open software was now happening, and it was sort of changing the playing field. And that opened up some interesting discussions from Petsy to say, be careful. IoT is not a complete measure from Microsoft, and basically pointing out the backnet, the importance of backnet, and how a backnet is here now, and some of this IoT stuff is still fairly airy-fairy. So I was really pleased that I achieved my goal, is just to get everybody talking, and I got some of them so mad they actually wrote articles. So that's my job, is just to annoy people, and I'm pretty good at it.
Well, you've got good competition here, Ken, because I think I annoy people too. But let's just start with sort of a basic, because the man, the myth, the legend. Whenever he and I are having a conversation about something, he always says, "Let's define it." So, what is the definition of an IoT device from your perspective?
Yeah, well, that keeps getting blurrier and blurrier for sure. That's exactly what the two articles point out, is that IoT isn't a thing. And Ken stopped talking about it as if it is a thing. But it is a movement, and our good friend Mark Petock points out that IoT is going to completely change how we approach. And it's not just a thing, and it's not a replacement for what we're doing. It's going to change our philosophy of how we do things, why we do things, and how we interconnect with people. So there's just a lot of dynamics, and I think that's why the issue kind of generated a lot of interest.
I'll say, I have to admit, I've learned a great deal. For the last 4 months, we've had the kind of a theme that has driven us into different areas and had different commentaries from very, very expertise, people that really knew their end of the business, whether it was a network, whether it was Wi-Fi, whether it was IoT. But I think that my way I see it is that we're seeing that data now, the all important data, as there could be too much of it, and then it had the direction to go to the cloud, and then we saw kind of a pushback, and then it went back to the edge. So you had all these smart devices at the edge, and then we had the fog arrive. We finally knew what the fog was, and it's kind of a neat analogy, using the cloud, fog, and edge. But then we see that I think data is changing directions within our normal building. Instead of the data going into a network, going to a supervisor or field controller, then a supervisory controller, then into the web supervisor and into the cloud. I think that IoT to me means that the abilities there to use this existing Wi-Fi network and get the device down to the very smallest possible level into the cloud. So the data, instead of going into the networks, going up into the cloud, or to an edge controller. But we're seeing kind of less and less emphasis, not to diminish the importance of BACnet, because I agree with what Betsy said. BACnet's here to stay, and it's here right now. It's quite concrete, and it's what we're relying on. But what's coming in the very near future is, like you said, it's not very many steps away. It used to be you could see the storm coming, react to it, but now it might come around from behind you and next displace you.
Yeah, well, I think the big thing that Brad's article pointed out, actually it's an interview, I was calling it an article, it's actually an interview, and what I did is I asked him to better define his quote that he put out for the Engineered Systems article, and he started to do that. And what he showed is that they're starting to use tools that are not industry tools, but are IoT tools, and are open and free, available, and they're starting to put together their own systems. And basically, when it comes to moving data, it's maybe new business for us, but it is not new business for the IoT folks. They've been doing it for years, whether it's financial data or what, no matter what it is, they have the programs to slice and dice it. And so what they're finding is some of these IoT programs are better for slicing and dicing and are not tied to vendors. And so there's sort of a floating of that whole data piece off into the wild blue yonder, and or into the IT world, worse than that, I guess. And so what happened is I think our industry has to recognize that, but we also have to figure out what's the best way to do that. And I don't know if you had a chance to catch my little satire with the how to teach the IT monster to ride a bike, and it starts with a picture of an octopus trying to ride a bike. And what that's all about is the IoT monster can be anything you want it to be. It's very smart. It's very flexible. But the bottom line is we've got to teach it how to ride our old industrial bikes, which are very rigid and tippy. So we plop this monster on there, and he kind of runs all over the edge. Inevitably, he's going to get a tentacle caught in the spokes, and also it becomes immediately obvious that we're going to have a hard time finding a platform and finding even a location for him to fit over our old stuff. So that's the metaphor that it was trying to portray and get some discussion going. But frankly, what I did with that was to try and draw people who mightn't traditionally read our stuff into that piece. And so we've had good fun with it, and it's had a good response, and it's gone a lot of places. and drawn a lot of people following it that haven't traditionally followed what we're doing.
You know, Eric, we can't let you off the hook. We both gave it a good stab at the IoT thing, and you've been maintaining a busy schedule and seen a lot of technology. What's IoT mean from your perspective?
My perspective.
Yeah.
Oh, I think it means just a giant pain in the rear end. I tell you what.
I think that's true.
Well, I think the thing is, it's kind of like the bright new shiny toy, right? I think it's just undefined. I mean, I think it, like, Ken said, the octopus analogy is a great analogy. And I just don't think anybody really knows how to get their arms around it. We know we want it. I don't think we know what it is. We just know we want it. And I think it does have the potential to do great things, not just in our industry, but in all industries, right, in terms of making life easier. But it's interesting. I think, I love, we got a mutual friend in Scott Cochran, one of the we call him the brightest guy in the room at Cochran Supply out of Detroit. And Ken, you've gotten a chance to know him as well as, Kenny and I have. And one of the things I love about Scott is when a customer asks him, well, we want to do analytics. He goes, why the hell do you want to do that, right? What do you want to accomplish? So I think it's kind of, what do you want to do with it, right? I mean, it's like me and cameras. That's probably a better analogy. It's like me and cameras. I've never had a camera I didn't like. Every camera I see, I just got to have, even though it's not doing anything for me different than the cameras already have. But so I'm a victim of it. I'm a fool for IoT. I want it. Don't know what it is, but give me some of that IoT.
Well, I think, and that's it. I think that's the other significant play on the octopus is that it has that ability to change form. It can basically squeeze itself through the smallest crack and reappear on the other side as something completely different. So that's what surprises us, I think, is when we're saying, I don't want any of this IoT stuff, as we pick up our phone and we head off and we start talking our texts and we Google Voice this and we access, turn the lights off in our house with our Echoes and so it's falling on us, and there's stuff we like about it that's simple, it works, and. Yeah.
Well, I think you just made me think of something funny, Ken, because we've all heard, don't bring your work home with you, right? And I think when it comes to IoT, it's like, well, don't take your IoT from home because we accept it at home, right? We understand where it plays at home, but don't take your IoT to work, right? We sort of got to get that switch. But Kenny, what about you, man? What is your...
Well, that's a great segue to the, everybody brings a smart device to work. In other words, we're living in a world now where you use an iPhone as a basis of conversation, right? Number one, no one would have believed the unparalleled, delivery mechanisms that this one single device brings, and how much technology is inside of here, and how the footprint, the form factor, everything's been reduced down to incredibly, small sizes, and so that it's such a formidable thing. Now, when you take that technology from maybe the smart devices and you apply it to parts of our BAS system where we want information, we want to know where people are located. So if you're everybody's got one of these and it's in their pocket, and you allow that to become part of the integration of a building automation system, you suddenly have the most accurate zoning possible, and then you have the user interface. So if you're not happy, you're connected to your portal to the building automation system. You say, I'd like more heat, please. Like I do at my home thermostat here. I just hit up arrow, down arrow. There's no more set points. It's more, am I comfortable or not comfortable? And then it watches me. It has the ability to see how close I'm coming, the geo fencing thing. So inside of a building now, and then as everybody departs, I mean, if you see a flush of all the smart devices, aka all the people leaving, then that is an immediate signal to some of that equipment that it can start to cut back. And so I agreed with some of the things Ken said 2 months ago. It's not a question of if and whatever. It's just a question of how do we manage it? How do we monetize it? How do we evolve to use that? So in that regard, to me, IoT is already here. It's just we have different definitions. And I think there's a lot of pushback because we have a lot of people that have a very traditional approach. They're not early adapters, and they don't have to be. And so they're quite content with their existing system. So you've got that kind of gravity in the middle holding things, from tremendous radical change. It'll never happen. It's like
but talk about the tremendous radical change in the home. And Ken Sinclair, I don't know about Canada, but there's a big thing down here, net neutrality or whatever, where they're talking about allowing the vendors to start charging more money for things that we get for free right now. So I guess that would be one question. Ken Smyers would be, so if all of a sudden you're getting charged for all this stuff, how much luster does it still have?
When you say charge,
sorry, I'd like to go back and just finish up with where Ken was heading there, because he's talking about the power of the phone. And then, of course, what happens with that is that, I don't know if you can see my watch or not. There.
Nope. Move it. There it is. Down.
Yeah. Down.
Over towards your chin. Move it towards your chin.
But that's another point, is that everyone's got these watches now that are talking to their phones. So as powerful as the phone was you described, the phone is getting powerful because there's more sensors. There's the heartbeat. You can tell not only how hard I've exercised in the last few hours. You can see where I physically have gone. It draws it on Google Map. That's all on my phone. That's all on my watch transferred to my phone. So we have a whole profile of what my mental state is. We're even starting to see some emotion stuff coming that way as well. So there's a giant development there that we've just seen the tip of that iceberg, and that's going to be very significant, I think, in keeping people comfortable in buildings. Now back to the net neutrality. Is that the correct word? Yeah, that's just crazy. We've got to stop that. I mean, everything we've achieved has been based on free internet, and as soon as government gets involved in internet, it's going to be the end.
I think you're right.
The other solution is going to be it's not going to have the effect they want. They think they're going to control it. They'll never control it. I mean, it was designed to be chopped in pieces, and it was designed for guerrilla warfare. So what they will do is they will start the guerrilla warfare, and it will basically redivide into a bunch of small internets, and everybody will have their own internet rather than the internet. So it'll be less controllable than it is now, would be my perception.
Well, but then you got to think maybe it's going to affect IoT, right? Because maybe your watch won't talk on this network; it'll only talk on that network, and so I think it's probably going to have an effect. It's going to have a ton of unintended consequences, and I'm wondering if it's coming from the fact that Google and all these other companies are now, Google's competing with the cable companies with their YouTube, $35, for example. We're going to use your structure, right? Your infrastructure to turn around and drive you out of business. So, I'm not necessarily sure it's just the fault of the cable companies. That they might be just doing that to try to survive, but it's certainly a free for all.
Yeah. Well, I think the cable companies are starting to see too that some of the ad hoc Wi-Fi stuff, the guerrilla Wi-Fi systems that are coming together are amazingly powerful and amazingly good, and they never saw that coming. Is the public actually all just donating and sticking servers on their buildings and stuff like that, and creating their own networks and passing it all on. And it's like, oh my God, that could be the death of us, And all they want back is their unfair advantage that they've always had.
Yeah, well said.
I used to work for a boss, and that's what he used to say. That's all I want is an unfair advantage. He says, once I got that, I'm happy.
Well, Ken, you bring up a good point. So let me ask you this. So what lessons are there for controls manufacturers and technology vendors in our industry to sort of learn from what's happening with this whole net neutrality thing?
I would kind of think they probably all want to support it and keep together. I can't imagine that anybody would like to see it segregated back out, because really that's from whence we came, I think.
Yeah. Almost
everything we've achieved so far is based on the openness of being able to get information, and as difficult as it is, we can get information across platforms. And we can slice and dice it pretty much any way we want, anywhere we want. And I think what they're going to see is if we move away from that model, then we're going to, if you put it back in the hands of the cable companies. Anybody remember, do you remember how far the cell companies were, the North American cell companies were behind the world until they basically got unregulated and we could actually, I don't know if you remember in the old days, if you're on one cell carrier, you wouldn't have anywhere near the same features with the next cell carrier.
Right.
Like it was just, that's not,
So the net neutrality thing would be like, if I'm understanding correctly, would be the analogy of us in building automation controls going from BACnet and haystack and open standards to, nope, this system will only talk to this system, back to the proprietary systems trying to, they wouldn't communicate in a building. It'd be it's that kind of craziness, isn't it?
Yeah, it's probably, almost as bad as going back to wired telephones. I mean, it's like where the telephone company owned the bandwidth. That's really what they want to do. Is they want it. Well, we used to own the wire, and then we were totally in control, and now we want to completely own the bandwidths and all that stuff. And why just give us that unfair advantage, and we'll use it. Yeah.
Well, I tell you what. Al Gore, an American, claims to have invented the internet. So President Trump, we're reaching out to you. You can be the one who saved the internet. So there you go. That's our political rampage for the day. Kenny, Ken, listen, we got AHR coming up. You got some great stuff going on there. I want to take a minute and talk about some of the events you have coming up at AHR.
Super. Okay, we've got, this is a record for us. We've got 6 sessions, 4 of them which I'm in control of, and 2 of them which I'm not in control of, but they've been attached to us, so I'm happy with that. Our first one is the future of building automation, data at the open intelligent edge, and that includes your friend Scott Cochran and myself and Brad. The next one is Phil Cito, thank you. And he's going to put on a Building Automation System 101, the primer you always wanted. He's got that going at 11 o'clock on Monday morning. And then we're on with the Open Intelligent Edge with the Valley girl, Therese, and also from California, Anto is going to chat with us as well about that. What they see, how they see the open edge evolving. And actually, there's some pretty interesting standards that are evolving there. Actually, my Octopus article unearthed a few. Linux has got some interesting stuff that is evolving there as well. Then on Tuesday morning, we've got our master systems integrators becoming the new data building architects. And again, that's Scott Cochran and Jason Hulk. And say it again. Hulk. Okay. Hulk. And so they're going to talk all about master systems integrators. And we're kind of hoping to have a whole bunch of master systems integrators in the room there. And so people can come out and meet these folks. And also they want to do a little bit of interaction just to help find themselves and where are they going? Like we can see where they've started. Where are they likely to head? I think is an interesting topic that I want to explore. The next one is called Building Automation 101 again, but it is interoperability and integration in IoT, and it's done by Tritium. And then the next session is the session you guys are going to record, which is how will we create value from our newfound edge data, bring it back to the hive, and discover new ways of providing comfort, health, and satisfaction in our buildings. How's that for a title? And we've got Andy McMillan from BACnet on that panel. We've got John Petsy. We've got Mark Peddock. We've got Troy Davis from Enocean, and we've got Trevor Palmer from Acuity. Right. So anyway, so yeah, it's a pretty great program. I'm looking forward to learning lots.
Well, this is I think the 4th year that you've done that, and I tell you, they keep getting more and more people. So
actually, it's the 5th year for the
collaboratory.
Collaboratory.
Yeah,
I've kind of downplayed the collaboratory because what was happening is we were kind of scaring people away. They kind of thought it was a private meeting, and it's anything but. It's just all these industry folks giving us their opinion, and very much the dialogue from the floor, as you know, is usually very intriguing.
Yeah, very intriguing.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. Well, see, the thing about the collaboratorium, Ken, was it was another buzzword that you kind of started, because the big trend then was collaboration, and how that was the quickest way to get things done. In other words, if somebody tried to do it all by themselves, so whether it was a vendor, manufacturer, or a solution provider, they would get things done at a pace that would be, commensurate to their resources, where some of the other things that were happening in the industry were done almost within a year, and it was done through intense collaboration, where everybody put their resources together, and it was an amazing demonstration of what the potency of collaboration was. So I thought those collaboratoriums were kind of an offspring and a capture of that concept.
Yeah, and they are. And I've asked everybody, do they want to stop doing this? And they say no, they're okay. They want to keep kind of going along and having fun with it. But you're quite right. If we rebuild it in today's words, it would be an agile agreement or discussion or something like that, and I would be the Scrum Master.
Nice.
So that's where the words have kind of twisted over the last 5 years. But the bottom line is we're still trying to get people to talk to each other.
Well, you're doing a great job of that, Ken. And the collaboratorium, where I was going to kind of go with it, Kenny, was that, it's kind of standing room only now. I was hoping maybe you could give us some tickets so we could scalp them. But
no, that's the worst part. Is there are no tickets there, and actually there's not even any positions. So you just have to get there early and
get there early and check it out.
Yeah. Although the problem was in Vegas is we had very small rooms, and we're back in McCormick, so I think we've got a room that'll hold a couple hundred. I can't imagine more than that's going to show up. So, well,
you never know. And AHR to be a great show this year. Anything in particular, your technologies you're looking forward to checking out while you're there?
I've been pretty focused on just trying to get our programs together.
I got you. Okay. Well, and of course,
let's shift. I thought we could shift gears and just talk about maybe some of those other December articles. That which one or two can you? They all are great. You have this perspective for the IoT of buildings, what IoT really means. So that was an interesting. About 4 or 5 of these are about IoT, smart campus IoT success strategies. 4 questions to ask from Chip Cummings, control code data management planning from Mark Pitok. I like how you change that. That's emphasis on the first syllable. We always call him Mark P. Talk. I think he did a really good article there. That was one of my favorites on this group. MSI compilation interview summary, mobile apps, new frontiers, MSIs and SIs. So the master systems integrator and systems integrator. That's a good article from Shane Taker of Optical Networks. But which one would you want to talk about here for a couple minutes?
Probably not. My arms aren't probably long enough, but I really like Brad White's article. And what I did is I quote that in my octopus analogy too, because he's actually talking about a different direction. And I guess we got into this thing of open source and open software, and wow, yeah, I didn't realize there's such a sensitivity in the industry about open source. And it's kind of interesting is open source is everybody likes to start from open source, but then they want to take it away and make it their own. And then they don't want to sort of admit that it's open source, I think is kind of how we see it sort of unrolling. But the true open source movement is more, I think, the way the IT folks kind of move through this. And they're used to grabbing pieces of stuff and mixing it together to do this. And I think Brad does a good job of explaining how they are doing it. And what I really like is he, in the middle of it, comes to the conclusion that he doesn't even know who they are anymore. If they are, in fact, a consulting company or if they are a a software company. They know what they're doing, and they're actually bringing value, and they've got the clients that are coming to them, but they're not traditional folks anymore. And I think that starts to show the transition that's occurring. And I think that's what I'm hoping a lot of the discussions are going to be in Chicago, is not so much who we were or who we even are, but who are we going to be? And actually, the next article I'm working on is actually heading in that direction. Is who are we behind the mask, the transformation mask? Who are we going to be when we open and we do the peekaboo?
Interesting. The open source finally arrives. It's a very good article. It has different references from different experts in the industries, different references to the Project Haystack with Sedona community and contemporary controls, and some of the what the truly open stuff are and how they remained open, and then down to the company that's called Candy and what they're doing with data and technology and the race to the smart building space. So it's great stuff. Well done, Brad. We'll be seeing Brad. We'll be seeing. We're looking forward to the Control Trends Awards and the Young Gun salutations and some of the other things, and some of the Hall of Famers. We've got some great, exciting stuff, and we want to thank you for participating with us, Ken.
Super.
You better just make sure you dress warm enough, because it's you're too comfortable out there in that 60-degree weather.
Yeah, that's right.
It's bone-chilling cold right
here. Hard to
here.
get excited about Chicago for sure, but weather-wise, but there's always so much going on. It's warm.
So there you go.
So Ken, we're looking forward to the January theme, and what was it? The man behind the iron mask? Was that it?
Well, it's.
I'm teasing. I know what.
Yeah. Okay. You know what a transformation mask is, or not?
Well, is it something that I can go if I get done in my face and look better?
No, in the West, where we live out here in the West Coast culture, there's a thing called a transformation mask, and they actually believe that every person is two people, and you have a face, one face, and then when you can open that up, and inside there's another face, and that's the real you that's there, and that's the transformation. So I was going to play off of that in something I'm working on, but anyway.
Well, very, very cool. We're looking forward to that January transformation mask. But you have been listening and looking at the real face of the real Ken Sinclair from the realautomatedbuildings.com. Ken, can't tell you how much we appreciate you coming on, man. We appreciate you sharing your knowledge and wisdom with you. We'll see you at AHR, and then we'll get you on to talk about the transformation.
I got nothing more to say. I'm just bored in every way. I don't know.
Well, Kenny, always great to hear from our friend Ken Sinclair, and can't wait to see him at AHR and the Control Trends Awards. But speaking of that, let's get back to, you and I have talked about one of the common themes for a long time being the fact that if you don't have a great product, you're not in the conversation. If you don't have great tech support, you're not in the conversation. If you don't have great pricing,
Technical
you're not
support,
in the conversation. So what is the differentiator? And, you and I have talked a lot about the messaging, right? So consequently, tell our audience about this marketing award that we have, and because we're starting to post some of that stuff. So.
Okay, the actual category, we learned early in our careers that back in those days we used to go to sales schools. They literally sat us down. I remember one of the most important lessons I learned was I was from Pittsburgh, and I was working for a company down in Silver Spring, Maryland, and I kept saying "you guys," and I'd say, "Hey, you guys got this, or you guys want to do this, or whatever." And they to cure me, I had to sit down in the class and say "you all." I had to learn how to pick up a phone and say, "Hey, how you all doing? You all have a couple minutes, and I can talk about something." And so I remember that it was like my first entry to actually practicing selling. It was to get online with the local, jargons and whatever. But we can't ever underestimate it, because we saw social media hit, and that was a big trend. We came back in 2013. That was the top trend of the year, or I think it was second actually in total views and the comments about everybody's trying to get a social media program up and running and make it effective. But you have major manufacturers. You have Johnson, you have EZIO, you have Schneider Electric, you have Belimo. You have J2 Innovations, you have Distech, you have Siemens, you have Computrols, you have ESI CB Richard Ellis. You have Functional Devices, Proton by Optergy. You have Atrius, Internet of US, Enable IoT for Business. You have now the history of Dwyer Instruments. You have just one after another, these incredibly short, less than 2 minute, elevator speeches, getting the message across, and they're incredibly well done. And if you ever need to learn, rather than try to create the wheel again, look at how these other folks do it, and then create your own version of it and make it local to your. I remember one of the coolest things I ever is think global, act local. Remember those old adages we used to learn to do? Well, now it really is like that. Whatever you're doing here in your particular area, Western Pennsylvania, for instance, might be applicable in Western Europe. And so we're seeing that with these different control systems and these IoT solutions. Is that farming? So they put these FW8s and 14s on farms to mark off. You have Niagara going into areas where it was never intended to go because it's basically an enabling technology. Well, the same thing happens with social media and the message. You could get a great idea by coming and viewing these things and creating your own, but you can increase your sales exponentially. You can develop a market online that wasn't there before because you've got the ability to tell a story. So we're just excited about it. We're going to have an opportunity to post these things. And
we are. And of course, as you know, I'm, visual thing is near and dear to my heart. And so, again, we got some great finalists in this category, which we think is a very, very important category. And also, one of them, our first one we're going to post this week, is kind of great because we realize getting people trained is so important. So we also have a trainer of the year. So this next post by J2 Innovations, I think, kind of double dips a little bit here, Kenny. It sort of hits both, right?
It sure does. And again, well, first of all, it's Gerald Huff. This is he's nominated for the Trainer of the Year, and heck, I knew Gerald back about 2006. I think I met him down there in Niagara. He was overseeing another instructor and was going through some of his maiden voyages in the instruction world, because those are professional. So Gerald Huff is a professional trainer. I mean, he could teach anything. And he has a passion, and he's funny. He's humorous. You can't tell if he's being, his humor can be wry, but he's also very quick to know when somebody's struggling, and he can help, and he knows it all already. So he just does a really, really good job, because he can teach anybody from the master systems integrator people down to the end user, and give them what they need to make their day more efficient and be better at what they're doing. So, as you know, Fin Lite and Fin Builder and Fin 4, Fin.40 now it's heavy duty stuff. It's a rabbit hole, and you can go down so far. There's very few people that can actually utilize that stuff at its maximum value, but somebody has to explain it to somebody, and Gerald Huff does a great job, and J2 is a great organization, and that's why they've been so successful.
Well, it's going to be very interesting too, Kenny, because we got so many great trainers, guys like Vern Peterson and some of the rest of them that are up there. I think you have a friend of Phil Zito is even a finalist, but these are some of the key individuals in our industry, and it's great that we've got the Trainer of the Year award. And that was a suggestion of I think one Scott Minch.
Well, it was actually Gerald. He at the last.
It's just Gerard, Kenny.
Gerard.
Come
what did I call him?
Gerald. You're calling him Gerald.
Oh,
man.
if you say that, he gets mad.
That's like saying
Gerard.
y'all.
Gerard, I apologize, because you've corrected me over the course of history
Gerard,
2 or 3 times.
You guys is apologizing over there, but y'all's got it right.
Well, we might as well just go down that list real quick, because you hit 4 or 5 of them already. Pedro Jorge from EasyIO. Ron Padilla from Johnson Controls, Gerald Huff from J2 Innovation, Phil Zito from Building Automation Monthly, Matt Kruger from Schneider Electric, Brad Bonfiglio, Schneider Electric, Christy O'Neill, Blue Ridge Technology, Michael Bennett, Distech Controls, Fred Ross, Siemens, Vernon Peterson, MOV, Greg Carter, Acuity Brands, and Akos Hero with Optergy. So
congratulations to all those guys, and good luck. And encourage you, get out and vote. I mean, the thing about the ballot we talked about earlier, if you've already voted, you can't send the ballot out, but you can just click on it up top and send that link out. Let's get some active. We're seeing voting's up about 30% this year already, and deservedly so, because we got so many great categories and so many great folks. So cool stuff, Kenny. What do we have up next, big doggy?
Yeah, I was just going to take just throw that out. 52 countries have participated so far in the Control Trends Awards. Now, some of them only have 1 or 2 votes, but I mean, that's still just blows my mind. I mean, mostly United States, Malaysia, Canada, Australia, and 52 countries. So please get this thing to your ecosystems and your communities, because the voting is in full-fledged. And what's up next? Heck, we've got another post from ACI. It is their video Control Trends Most Impactful Marketing Submission, and it's a great little video of an American company that really has pride that exudes in their messaging. I mean, these people are all smiling. They work together as a community, and they're successful as a community. And hats off to ACI, because they really support their community. They do fundraisers. They have bowl-a-thons. They run marathons, and they generate money. And they've won several awards as Manufacturer of the Year for Wisconsin.
Well, it's a beautiful video. It's so well done, and again, being a visual type guy, I have a real appreciation for just how well that video is done. So, but I tell you what, I've been through all of them, Kenny, and I can't find any that I can't say the same thing about. So that's going to be a very hotly contested category, because the marketing teams in our industry are really, really creating some incredible stuff.
You're right, and the next post we have is the same thing. We've got check out Johnson Controls entry to the 2017 Control Trends Most Impactful Marketing Collateral Year of the Award, and I bet you it was tough for Johnson to pick out one that they which one's best, but it was actually featured a new product, which is the Verisys, and so
which is in the hunt for the race to the small space, right?
It sure is, and they've got training coming up December 19th too. So we'll have that in Ken's calendar, the post for it. So they've got a lot going on at Johnson, and it's December 19th at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time, and this is to get a really deep dive glimpse. It's an oxymoron there, deep dive glimpse. Okay, this is to get a glimpse, but actually when you go on
glimpse, Kenny, that sounds pretty ominous, man.
Here you go. You could be nice and edit that out, or you can leave that in. And
we're leaving it in, big dog.
And let me get red cheeked about it.
Well, here's the red cheeks. Here you go, ladies and gentlemen. There's Kenny's red cheeks. All right, buddy.
Anyhow, I went on the sign up thing, and I've been working with our Johnson guy to learn more about it, because it's catching on. They put the stuff on some York OEM equipment, and it's going to get pulled through in that direction. They've got 2 channels that they're pumping the Johnson solutions through, the ABCS channels, and so now they're finally, I think, getting those wheels on the rubber, and they're turning. But this is really a clever opportunity for contractors, probably more younger focused contractors, because you got to be comfortable with technology, but they provide that for you. So during this webinar, you'll learn about the key benefits and future capabilities of your light commercial building control system, data sharing from one source to multiple destinations, simple interfacing to back up smart equipment devices within the system, support of other light commercial applications, cloud connectivity, lighting control, wireless and global scheduling, integration of refrigeration products into the plug-and-play ecosystem of Verisys. So you can register on our link, and even though it says glimpse, it's actually a pretty deep dive. So that's where I made my slip.
It's a really cool product. Johnson Controls has got so many innovative folks. As a matter of fact, shout out to Pat Harder, who we got to meet a couple weeks ago, and the rest of the team up there, man. Just really, really great folks. Very innovative. These guys are looking out into the future and coming up with some really good stuff. So,
well, I have another shout out. I'm glad you said that, because I want to say it was nice we met Mark Zilokowski.
Yes,
he's the VP of Product Management of Global Controls and Products, and he went to the same high school as I did. I almost fell over dead. We walk in the lobby, we introduce ourselves, and he goes, "From Pittsburgh. You ever hear of Shaler?" And I said, "Yeah, I graduated from Shaler." So did he. And here, his sister was in the same class as my cousin Dougie, and we had all kinds of great reminiscences, and who, and it's always fun to do, no matter where you go in the world. He told me he was in, I think, Poland, and on work related trip, and it met somebody from Pittsburgh. So that's always fun. It's always one of the neat things about traveling and seeing how small the world really is.
Well, and I think the other thing, too, is that at some point in time, everybody originally has roots in Pittsburgh. That's just the way it is. When I was down in Miami, I met this young lady who was from Pittsburgh, one of our waitresses, and I told him, I said, "Well, did you know the Smyers boys? Because they play football at Shaler." She goes, "Oh, we kick their asses all the time." And she said, Gatling Gators?
Gateway Gators, and
Gateway
they did.
Gators. But the one thing she did have in common, she goes, yeah, we kicked Shaler's ass, but go Steelers. So
Right. Well, three of my brothers went to North Catholic, and they would say that Gateway never beat North Catholic back in the day.
Well, see, if I'd known that, I could have retorted. I could have defended your guys' masculinity in your honor, but I didn't.
Then three of us went to Shaler, David, Jesse, and myself, and we had great athletes, and we had people that made professional ranks, particularly in basketball. Our mainstay was wrestling. We had the toughest wrestling people in Pennsylvania. We'd state champions every year, but football wise, we never got together. We had good teams and never won never got past teams like Gateway, then North Allegheny, and then North Hills. Everybody has a good football team around here. Yeah. Pine Ridge just won the state championship. That's where I live now, and their quarterback's going to Notre Dame, and he's considered.
What's wrong with Penn State, man, or Pitt?
Penn State. You go there and you sit around. They get 10 of each. They're a factory. I think they're like Georgia and Georgia Tech.
I tell you what, Penn State had a heck of a team this year, man. They're making a comeback. They did for sure. Well, listen, Kenny, we got one more post. Our good friends from KMC, and man, they got a great conference. We're going to be there coming up right before AHR. And what can you tell us about that?
Well, they're retransmitting the message. Sign up for your sessions now. Space is limited, but they really want to have maximum attendance at the KMC Genius Summit. Again, like you say, there's an amazing opportunity for people to pick their next solutions to deal with the new markets. If the cheese is getting moved all over the board, you can't come to work and expect the world to stay the same. You've got to get yourself retreaded into this new technology, and you've got great choices. And KMC, their Commander Series, KMC Simply VAV. I mean, this is some really good technology that is very reachable. It's not a tremendous investment of time and money. These are things that are doable, and you can get involved. And the best way to do that is to make a professional investment and get to one of these summits, and then meet the people and pick a partner and move on.
Yeah, I tell you what, it's great stuff. They're great company, another great American company, and love Richard Newberry, love the whole team there, Tim Vogel and those guys. It's a great product. You're going to be in AHR anyway. Might as well come in a couple of days early. Check this out. Check out the Control Trends Awards, and KMC again is a platinum sponsor for the Control Trends Awards. So we're getting emails from people going, "How do I get tickets?" And the best way to get tickets is to reach out to one of our platinum sponsors. They're the ones that have the tickets. Because the Control Trends Awards this year is going to be spectacular. We got some new surprises coming up, and it's going to be a lot of fun. But we couldn't do it without our sponsors, and KMC is one of our proud platinum sponsors. So check those guys out for sure.
Absolutely, Eric. It's going to be very exciting. In fact, our only concern now is that we might not have we've limited seating. It's a smaller environment than. Orlando was probably the coolest place because you could put 5,000 people in that facility, and Las Vegas was kind of it was clubbish, but this is a nightclub. This is designed for entertainment. Most of the seats are on the second floor, and you're looking down onto the stage. And we're going to have some great reasons to look down at that stage. We're going to have the Control Trends categories. We have some very interesting final decisions to make with the run of the show, but we've got some great entertainment, and you're right there in this Hard Rock Cafe that has all these incredible mementos, guitars, and every time I go there, I have to walk around and learn something
it's like
new.
A museum, isn't it?
Jimi Hendrix played this guitar with this guy, and there's Janis Joplin's, Blue Jeans and whatever. I can watch. I love a little bit of that. Every week you got to have a taste of museum.
And of course, we have to have a fitting venue for our two master ceremonies. The one and only Mark Peacock and the lovely Kimberly Brown. They'll both be there this year doing the MC duties again. So it's going to be a great show. I think the sponsorships, or at least the platinums, are all sold out. We might have, one or two smaller things, but if you do need tickets, the best way is a sponsorship or to work with one of our sponsors. But their tickets are filling up fast too. But it's going to be a spectacular show. I tell you what, Kenny, with that, let's go out and play in the snow, right? You got snow up there. I got cold weather. Let's go do our thing. And special thanks to our guest this week, the one and only Ken Sinclair, who will be at the Control Trends Awards. Be sure to check out automatedbuildings.com. Anything else you want to say, Kenny, before I do the outro?
I just get a kick out how Ken St. Clair calls him Mark Peacock, and we call him Mark Peacock. So,
man, when you're as cool as Mark, you can go by many, many different names. And if you don't know Mark Peacock, he is the marketing director and, among other things, at linkspring.com. great products. But Mark's got to be one of the great minds in our industry. I mean, he did all the marketing at Tree. We talk about a guy who really understands marketing and marketing messages. Hell, he even named himself Mark because he's in marketing, right? But Mark he was up in New York City. He got a start on Madison Avenue, man. He was around Studio 54 with Cindy Crawford and all those models, man.
Yeah,
so if nothing else, call Mark, and if you buy product from him, he'll tell you stories about Cindy Crawford and all those Christy Turlington, all those models he used to escort around. So, but you got to buy product before he'll tell you those stories, and they're not for the faint of heart, right?
Well, the ones we've heard haven't been.
Yeah. There you go, buddy. All
no,
right,
Mark,
man,
we're just kidding. We're just kidding, Mark.
I'm not kidding. You told me some great stories. I tell you, I was always a big Cindy Crawford. That was back in the days of the supermodels. You remember that?
Oh, sure. Oh, my gosh.
Right about the time you were wearing the green bell bottoms, hanging out at the Electric Banana, or wherever you hung out in New York City.
She took Raquel Welch's place on the locker room. She had that spectacular, what was it, a fold-out back then? And
Kenny. I don't know what a fold-out is.
Cindy Crawford. She still is amazing. Well, she's 55 or something. But she was an icon, or still is, I guess. So, but. Yeah. We better change this channel here.
We better change the subject, Kenny, because I tell you what, this is on tape, and I know at some point in time you're going to run for political office, so this could be your downfall here. So, all right, well, folks, listen, thanks so much for tuning in. This has been Control Talk Now, your Smart Buildings videocast and podcast. Hope you guys have a great week. Thanks for tuning in. Remember, be bold, stay in control, and stay relevant.
Indeed, Eric.
Indeed, Kenny Smyers. Woo-hoo. Yeah.